Welcome to the Brightline Podcast. Today
Hey,
is
what's going on?
Thursday, April 16th. My name is Morgan Cole, and I'm broadcasting to you live from Studio 110 in the Woodlands, Texas. I got Richard Gonzalez joining me today. Richard, what's up, man?
Hey, man. Good morning. How are you?
Hey, I'm good, Richard. I'm good. So today I'm going to review some trends and statistics in our local real estate market, and I'm going to keep you informed about how our market is responding to the COVID-19 pandemic. And also, Richard, who's the marketing director for Wings and More, is going to join me to discuss his career with their company, how they're responding to issues that they're facing right now, and also his own experiences as a landlord in Montgomery County. So stay tuned. You're listening to the Brightline Podcast, where we talk about investment real estate, business, and many other interesting topics. Brought to you by Brightline Property Management. Brightline Property Management is a professional residential property management company located in the Woodlands, Texas, serving the northern Houston area. Additionally, brought to you by Rentalizer, the MLS-driven investment home analyzer. Sign up today at brightlinepodcast.com/rentalizer. That's RENTLYZER. The Brightline Podcast is produced at Studio 110 in the Woodlands, Texas, the premier studio in the Woodlands. Check out the show's website at brightlinepodcast.com, where you can subscribe, contact, and sign up for our newsletter. That's brightlinepodcast.com. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoy our show. All right, everybody, welcome. So I hope you enjoyed my fancy intro there. As I figure out more about how all this equipment works, we're going to get just more and more high tech and let all the technology shine. So, bear with me as we get better. So today I finally have some information I've been wanting to share with you, which is some market trends I've been working on for our local real estate market. Now, a lot of times when you look at market trends, it's from some source that is doing a great job of putting the data out there, but it might not be local to you. I know a lot of people here live in the Woodlands or Spring or surrounding areas, and the HAR data is concise and accurate and wonderfully presented, but you might not really care what the median prices of houses in River Oaks or Sugarland. So I'm combining our local zip codes here into a little bit of information, and I am going to go over this with you briefly, and I'm gonna work on changing this up a little bit as time goes on. But I think that a lot of people are very concerned about what's happening, and they want to know what is really happening in the real estate market and how their most prized possession, which is probably their home, is affected by this. So what I've got here is a slide of the 2020 year-to-date sales in our area. And really what I'm seeing here is that so far, year to date, there have been between 138 and 362 listings created per week. So we check this every Monday for the previous 7 days, and we total those up. And in this past week that ended this past Monday here, there were 201. So it's a little on the lower end. I guess that kind of makes sense. But, that's reality. It's not the lowest. It's not half of what it's ever been before. But it's on the lower end. 201's closer to 138 than 362. So you got that. And as far as sales go, there were still 114 sales in our area in this recent week. The range so far year to date has been 92 to 252. But even still, that's not like there were 10 sales and 10 listings, so it's not like things are coming to a screeching halt. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Now, the median price of the sold listings has ranged, is currently 250,000 was the most recent median, and it's been as low as 239 and as high as 267. So still, we're kind of pegged in the middle of that. But our 5-week moving average of the median sales price is down $5,000. Year to date, it's gone from 262 to 257. So that is trending down a little bit. But again, it's not like people are, dropping 20 grand off their houses all of a sudden. And then in the rental market, something that we follow closely here, there have been between 89 and 151 listings per week. And in this past week, the biggest amount of listings, 151. So, might interpret that as people who would have otherwise been sellers just said, hey, let's go ahead and rent this thing out and wait and not and see what happens. As far as closed rentals, there have been between 60 and 188, and we managed to get 72 of them done last week. So interpret that for what you will. The moving average of the pricing, by the way, is relatively unchanged. It's well, I take that back. It's actually nearer the top. The range has been 1643 to 1659, and ours was 1659, the last 5 week moving average. So rental market seems to be heating up a little bit, actually. So we'll keep an eye on that. I'm going to refine my presentation of these numbers, and we'll get working on this just a little bit more here as time goes on. So anyway, all right, so you saw him a minute ago. We have Richard Gonzalez joining me today. I'm going to bring him up here. And Richard, hey, what's up, man?
Hey, good to see you again.
Well, it's good to see you too. I punched the wrong button there when I cut over to you and me together.
Yeah,
So that was my fault.
that's all right. Hey,
I'm
we're learning.
we're learning. Yeah, I feel like I'm flying an F-16 over here with all these buttons and doodads and gadgets.
Oh, for
So
sure.
so Richard, tell us about yourself. I know you through Wings and More. You're the marketing director at Wings and More, and I think maybe you do a couple of other things. But what is your role over there?
Yeah, I do take care of the marketing. That's kind of the fun part of what I get to do. But I handle the database um, and the teams that help support our point of sale and kind of everything that goes along with it. So any type of new items we're introducing, or if we're like, for instance, we've made several changes just to kind of adapt with takeout and kind of moving forward. So I get to be involved in those key aspects, those components of the restaurant.
Gotcha. And you guys have had to change quite a lot, of course, with how you handle interact with each other, interact with customers. I would imagine even suppliers. Um, I mean, are y'all able to still run at certain to a certain degree in certain locations?
Yeah, so we have a couple of different concepts. We have our express concept, which is already built for takeout, and it's it hadn't seen much change because people are accustomed on how to get there and how to order there. So we have three full service restaurants. We did have to make those adjustments. We had to close down the dining room. Okay, how are we going to direct traffic? How are we going to manage our staff? What type of business to expect? Um, Reaching out to our vendors. Are we going to be worried about supply line and our takeout? When you increase the volume of takeout, right, you're using more paper goods. It's bags and boxes and cups
Yeah,
uh, and so there was a huge adjustment and a lot of communication amongst the, all points of the business and just to make sure everything functions. So when you come in, it's no different to you, right? You just want, hey, I want to purchase my food. I want it correct,
mm-hmm.
and I'd like to be done with it. Well, we on our side behind the curtains, we want to make sure that that runs as smooth as possible because I don't, as a guest, you're not really concerned if I have my product, why I don't have my product or how I don't product, you just
Sure.
want to get done correctly. So
Yeah.
it's challenging, but I mean, we work with a lot of great teams, and everybody's doing the best they can with the information they're given within every six. At the beginning, it was like every 6 hours,
Sure.
with the changes and whatnot. So
Yeah, no, I understand that. So we were chatting before we started, and you were telling me something that my jaw pretty much hit the floor, and I feel like I can't continue talking without at least discussing that because it just is bothering me. So, what's going on?
yeah,
What's going on with your various locations?
well, because we were restricted on how we were going to perform our business. And the Woodlands location, we would go from a full service to okay a reduced capacity, and then okay we're restricted to takeout. And over that time period, it became just a little bit more challenging to kind of drive business to this location, and without knowing how long it's going to take to kind of get back to business. We unfortunately had to make the decision to close this store down for good. We won't be reopening the doors,
Yeah.
which is
When you
it,
told me
it
that, I
was
was stunned.
yeah, it's not a phone call you want to hear. It's not a phone call you want to make to people you've been working with for years. And because the expectation when this occurs is like, okay, hey, it's just a bump in the road. Um, we'll be able to recover. I mean, we'll bounce back, go through a certain time period just kept getting extended. And yeah, I think it's a tough decision,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, we had to make it. Yeah, we'll lose a member of our family.
Well, it's wild. I mean, I've been going there since y'all opened 15 years ago. That's how I met you. I
Yeah,
used to go in there and you'd see me frequently, and I'd go sit down at the bar by myself, and we just kind of got to know each other while I was working at lunch or whatever. I don't go to the bar to drink by myself, but I would usually go in during the week at lunch and just kind of hang out over there and sit down with my laptop and get something done. And I golly, it's just wild. Like, I mean, I know restaurants come and go, but at the same time, there's those statistics about how you must know how to recite these. A certain number of restaurants fail in the first year, and a certain number of them fail in the
hmm
next like 5 years or something like that. You're 15.
yeah.
That location alone's
Morgan,
15 years deep.
it's yeah, and a lot of these businesses, people they put everything in it. Their life savings. They feel they have a product and they want to get it out to the public, and they invest this large amount of money. And man, it's hard. Uh, you know, you don't want to see any of these businesses fail because you just know
No,
everything that's involved. It's not just a person; it's
right.
their livelihood, and then the people that are involved in it. But man, it's a tough time, and people forget bars were hit before restaurants were hit.
They were
They
told to
closed their doors
close.
way before. That's right, and I think unfortunately we're just going to see a lot of these things coming across I mean, with several businesses. Um, just how long can you weather the storm?
Yeah,
But with that being said, we've applied for the loans just like everybody else, and we're
sure.
probably one of the first ones in line, and
Yeah,
we're trying to get assistance to take care, ultimately to take care of our staff, to take care of you guys, right? I mean,
yeah,
we need them to take care of you. So,
yeah. And there's I mean,
yeah, man, it's
y'all
hard.
the trickle down here though is challenging. I mean, y'all have got, of course, like the you have ownership, and then you have management, and you have the employees, and then you have the people that are the businesses that rely on y'all for
Sure.
being one of their clients, the supply people. I mean,
hmm
it's amazing the trickle down effect there. Well, I'm very sorry to hear that. My heart goes out to you
I
and
appreciate
everybody
that.
who works there.
Hey,
I'm
I'm grateful. I got to meet people like you. I've developed great friendships.
yeah,
And I'm not going anywhere. I'm still in the area. We have
sure.
our location in Conroe. I'm still working on, and you know what? Pleasantly, I've seen several of the customers that would come in here.
Up at
Uh,
Conroe.
they drive up there. They'll say, "Hey, man, hey, good
Yeah,
to see you. Glad you're doing well." So that's always pleasant to
good.
see.
Good. Well, I'll be sure and patronize that location. I was
Yeah, come.
yeah, yeah, I will. I will. So all right. So moving on from that.
All right.
So what are you guys doing? I mean, I've pulled through a couple of drive-throughs. I've seen that they say, that everybody's washing their hands every 30 minutes and doing all these things. So what is it to be a restaurateur who is open, who's operating right now during COVID-19?
Trying to keep the guests comfortable, and trying to um, have them have the confidence in us that we're trying to do everything we can do possible to keep them safe. The good thing about it is, we're already governed by the health department, and so we have to mind our P's and Q's. I mean, we get graded annually. We'll have phone calls if somebody wants to call in, they'll call us and make sure we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. So there's already these processes and procedures that are just in general there to keep you safe all the time. I mean, we all go out to eat hundreds of times a year, and you almost don't think about the the plausibility of something getting you either sick or whatnot. So I mean, there's already a general safety there. So we try to just we've taken that and we've built on it. Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, you increase. We've all seen the emails, right? You increase the times that you're washing your hands. You're being a little bit more diligent, which is all this. These are all positive things, and
Sure.
so that's kind of what we're doing. And then of course the functionality. When you make an order online or you call in the order, you just want it to be a smooth process, and so we kind of we've worked through that. Whether we've redirected terminals to where they're just takeout. We've added phone lines.
Wow.
We've added people. I mean, you're basically waiting the tables outside, right? We're coming to your
You
vehicle
are. Yeah. Yeah. No,
and doing things like that.
you're still selling the same amount of food. Hopefully, I mean, anybody that comes over there that wanted that at the to-go location in Montgomery, I mean, they're not able to come inside. So 100% of the people are now coming through the drive-through or parking out front.
Hmm.
A couple of weeks ago, we went to Whataburger, and it was like our second time to go pick something up. As you know, people just weren't comfortable, going places, and it took us a
Yeah.
while to do that. And we pulled up, and the line was pretty long, and the kids, we had been driving somewhere, and the kids were kind of frustrated. Anyway, Casey was like, "Oh, this is gonna take 25 minutes. Just drop us off at home." And I was like, "Honey," I was like, "the store is closed." I was like, they're able to dedicate 100% of their kitchen
Hmm.
to moving this car line through here. I said, "I bet that they get us out of here faster than it would normally be if you were 3 cars ahead." And they did. I mean, it was amazing how fast they were blowing food out of that kitchen and sending people out of the way. So I
Yeah.
would guess y'all are
That,
doing the same thing.
yeah, we are. You have okay. So you're able to function. You're able to focus on just one aspect of the business, right? You're right. Normally in a full service restaurant, it's the bar, it's the out patio, it's the servers inside. I mean, you have another 300 people you're trying to navigate. Oh, and by the way, we're going to work on takeout.
Yeah.
And you can place an order and for 2 or 3 items. Well, I can place an order right behind you for 15 items,
Mm-hmm.
but they're both have to come out at the same time. So what do we need to do within the kitchen, to streamline that aspect of it? Okay, and that way when you both show up, all that food has to come out at the same time. So we've you try to make it as quick as possible because I'm a family. I have a family. We're there. I'm sitting in the same line you're sitting in. You're like,
Yep.
oh, this is gonna take ages.
Right.
And you make that decision when you're driving down the street and go, well, hey, that's a quick place. I'm gonna go in there. They're gonna be real quick. I'm gonna come in and out,
Mm-hmm.
and we want to be part of that conversation. So we do those types of things.
Yeah. No, I think it's I think it's just kind of it's been, I don't know what the right word is, but it's been interesting to observe how quickly restaurants and the public has been able to adapt. Not only have the restaurants figured out how they can serve the public, but the public has figured out, hey, we want this product, so we're going to figure out how to behave, and we're going to figure out how to receive it the
Right.
right way.
That's right.
Um,
You're exactly right.
and I think that it's humanity works. So congratulations to
Yeah.
that.
And here, I'm able to reach out to people, through social media and whatnot. I mean, it's very effective because a lot more people they're enclosed in a certain area. They're not traveling all over Houston. I mean, if you're at home and you're in Montgomery, you're at home and you're in Montgomery. Most of you are. So I can reach you and go, okay, hey, look,
Yep.
we've this is how we're functioning now, and this is the products we're serving, and this is discounted because it is every week we're like, what do we need to do now? What do we need to do different? Um, to kind of make people happy at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Gosh. Well, so the future here though for restaurants. I mean, I know Greg Abbott is supposed to be releasing his guidelines for reopening the state here. I think they talk about wanting to do it the 1st of May. Do you have any idea? Do you guys think that through the end of May you'll still just be takeout? I mean, do y'all have any guidance from anybody telling you how long you'll be continuing to operate like this?
No, no, we do not. It is, but everybody's in the same boat. So as a company, what we do now, what we're currently doing is okay. We have functions in places to uh, we're going to tweak takeout and kind of just make it a little bit better. But now we need to start focusing, okay, when we start opening these doors, what are we going to be doing different? How are we going to be doing it? And so I anticipate kind of a reverse of what we saw at the beginning, right? So it was like, all right, yeah, you can have a full capacity, but then we're going to go down to 50 people. And then we're going to
Mm-hmm.
go down, okay, you can have people in your business, but they got to be 10 feet apart, right? They got the tables need to be 10 feet apart, or they need to be sat 10 feet apart. So I, if I were to guess, I think that's what's going to happen. And they'll just kind of slowly allow people to come in, until we get to a full capacity. And God knows when that'll be. But in terms of guidance, I mean, all we can do, we just call everybody. Everybody really doesn't know, right? So we call the health department. You listen to the mayor, you listen to the governor, you listen to, the president, and you're just trying to make the best decision for your staff, and then,
Yeah.
opening up for your guests.
Yeah.
But no,
No,
there's
that's
no, hey, here's a guideline, here's your piece of paper, step one.
right.
Just not currently.
They don't have it
I'm
all
sure all
figured
these
out
things
yet.
will be, yeah, these will all be developed next time, right? Hopefully not, but um, I'm sure there's a lot of people taking notes on kind of how to react to some things like this.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I think I was talking to one of our family friends who's a retired infectious disease doctor, and he's knowledgeable about this kind of stuff, and he says he
Hmm.
thinks there'll be some cultural changes just forever. That like people when they're sick will just wear a mask.
Yeah, I
And
believe that.
I mean, we might even who knows what could happen in the restaurant industry. I mean, they might tell food line workers they have to wear a mask from now on or something like that. I mean, who knows?
Right, and we just have to be prepared for that.
Yeah,
We have to adjust with whatever new guidelines come out because of this. But and I believe we might have a healthier society. It's possible that people are. You always hear, "Hey, don't touch your face. Don't put that in your mouth. Don't touch this. Don't do that." And you kind of some of that gets taken for granted, and now you can kind of see a terrible result of something that can
yeah.
happen just by the simplicity of just not washing your hands, or being around someone who and I was that person that they're a little bit under the weather, but they're still working, right? They're under the weather, but they're pulling their weight, and they're here,
That's
they're
the honorable
dedicated.
has been the honorable thing to do. I mean, don't get people
That's right.
sick, but it's don't also be the guy who's home for 3 days every month because you don't feel well.
That's right. And you put yourself in a position, you're like, look, I can work at home. I'm working. I'm not going to be in these stores, but I'm going to be working. I'm going to be available. And I think in some of these industries, they're like, no, hey, you just stay home. It's going to be okay. It won't be
Yeah,
frowned upon because the understanding of like, look, yeah, if you're contagious, yeah, none of us want to,
right.
be just have a cold, just be irritated.
Right. Yeah. No, that's a it's really interesting how all this is happening. So something I got sidetracked because you dropped that bombshell on me, which just kind of makes me sad. But I wanted to
I
ask
know.
you what was your career in how has your career in Wings and More been? How did you start in Wings and More? I had your wife on the show last week and she met you at Wings and More in College
That's
Station,
right.
which is
Yeah.
very cool.
Uh, you know, it wasn't something I wrote down. I didn't know I wanted to be in restaurants or do what I'm doing today. When I was younger, I would work at Papacitos, right? And it was a fine-tuned machine,
Yeah.
and I played. I was in Dallas for a little bit, and then I went to A&M, and at A&M, I just started working at Wings and More as a waiter. You just get a little
Are
bit of
you from
money,
Houston?
hang out. I'm from Houston, yeah, South Houston.
Okay.
I went to Bel Air High School.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Um, and at A&M, I was studying computer engineering, and I really enjoyed that at the time. And I ended up taking a break and took a management position. And honestly, from that point on, I just worked on the company and moved up accordingly, right? So people
Mm-hmm.
kind of came and went. Lucky for me that it was a brand that needed improvement or needed change with time. And so myself and Steven, he's head of operations. we would just work on the business. So you would develop the training program.
Mm-hmm.
We would change point of sale, and we'd write the code. How do we put the orders in? And then you I was involved in all these things. So I was still using my major, but in problem solving and getting to communicate with all these teams out of Houston and whatnot. And it kind of just led me to this position. And then,
That's cool.
yeah, the marketing aspect of it came from it. When I was in the Woodlands, um, I was the go-to person, like handling all the marketing and whatnot. And then, I had a team. I worked with Patrick Henry out of Houston,
Mm-hmm.
um, and we would work with them and just kind of work on the brand. So it just got to the point where I was pulled out of the business. No longer the GM, no longer the number two or anything, and so I actually got to work on the business, and that's
Yeah,
kind
that's
of
cool.
that. I've been, yeah, since '98. I've been
Oh,
kind of
wow.
doing
Well,
that. But
that's
the industry,
amazing.
yeah, the blessing is the industry's always changed. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, even today, as we speak, it is operating differently today than it was just a month ago,
But
and so to be part of those. Go
to
ahead.
to your credit, I mean, your education, your diverse background, and the things that you've had to work on in different aspects of the business is what enables y'all to navigate in these difficult waters.
Yeah, one of my best friends, Steven. He handles kind of the HR aspect of the business, and him and I have the luxury of just talking to each other and say, "Hey, man, how do we best attack this?" Whether I'm referring to, how do I ring up a small ranch, and to his, "Hey, how do I handle this employee who has come across this situation? What's the best way?" And we get to bounce these ideas off of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the deal: we're also smart enough to know we need smart people around us, right?
Sure.
So we do have our lawyers team. We have a lawyer team that we talk to. I have a marketing team I talk to. I have all these developments, and then we just kind of try to piece it all together to help make the business successful. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's a luxury I have. We've surrounded ourselves with very intelligent people, just like yourself, and and,
Well,
and we
thank
try
you.
to use these tools. Well, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
if I'm speaking real estate, I'm talking to you and trying to
Yeah.
get some advice, and
Yeah. Just like
because
when
you
I'm
are.
sitting there in the bar and I'm sitting away and
That's
you come
right.
over and we
Yeah,
talk about it. We have talked about that quite a lot.
we
Um,
have.
it's
It's
interesting. You want a
it's
good
a smart
team
thing to do.
though. You want a good team. I mean, in my own life, I've got my team of people that I know that I can go to for resources, and that's how if you're a person who's tasked with making decisions or being able to execute and accomplish things, you've got to have
Hmm.
people that you can lean on.
That's
So
very important. Yeah,
yeah, so that's
very
good that you
important.
guys
Yeah.
have that. So, um, well, no, that's cool. I mean, this is such a somber topic, and I'm trying not to make this the COVID-19 podcast. I mean, I hate that. It's just kind of what's on everybody's mind. But if we can move off of just everything related to COVID-19, I want to know
All right.
just about your restaurant, which obviously is changing. But so you guys you have a full menu. You sell hamburgers and chicken tenders and all kinds of stuff like
Hmm.
that. What's your number one selling item?
Oh man, no questions. The wing and tender combo.
Wing and
So
tender combo. Okay.
that's our number one. And number two, you start getting into the wing baskets, right? Large, 10 piece, a 16 piece.
Yeah. I'm a
And
boneless,
then
so I'm the
outside of that,
boneless buffalo tenders are my
yeah,
go-to. They always have been.
that's
Um,
right. You know what? We started that before anybody else did. We took our chicken tenders and we dipped them, uh, in wing sauce at the request of our customers. Since I was waiting tables back in 98, 99,
wow.
and the major brands, they marketed it a lot better, right? So they took the chicken breast and they made it small, and
Yeah.
the boneless wing kind of came out.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've been doing that's from the get-go.
Well,
Your entree.
I remember. So even when I lived in College Station, I never went to Wings and More. It just for some reason it didn't appeal to me. I never been a big wing guy. I didn't grow up eating them. Wasn't my thing. And then I remember, I think that I legitimately think it was July 4th of 2005, because I was working at my car audio shop called Cole Audio with Richie and
Hmm.
Mason, and Richie wanted to go to Wings and More for lunch, so I think we went to Wings and More, and I don't know why we weren't closed that day, but we were busy or something. We had stuff to do, but anyway. And I think I ordered like a hamburger because I like begrudgingly, was willing to go. It was fine, but I was just like, guys, I don't know why we're here, whatever. Well, I remember like a year later, my friend Matt had picked up food from y'all, and he came over to my house, and he had got chicken tenders that were not dipped. They were tenders, but he had medium sauce like in the bag, and he opened it up, and I
Right.
smelled it, and I was like, "What is that?" And he's like, "Man, this is chicken tenders with medium sauce," and I was like, "Let me try that," and it was amazing. And after getting to know you, which really, I mean, you're there, I was there. It didn't take long to, familiar faces to get to talking. I think you are the one who explained to me that y'all's wing sauce is like cayenne based, whereas a lot
Yeah,
of wing
kind
sauce
of.
is
Mhm.
Tabasco based, right? Am I right?
You're close. Yeah. So, it all has to do with the portions of it. So we would take a lot of these wing sauces during the course of development, and you know, it it's just things you would do with the sauce, like how well would it stick to the wing? How much
Mm-hmm.
flavor does it hold? How long would it last if it leaves here and at your home in about 15 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so we found the right ratio of that cayenne, the vinegar, and the water that kind of is just a little bit more superior than some of the products that you'd find on the shelves right now.
Well, and the flavor
Um,
profile is entirely different than Hooters. And
Correct, yeah.
I think that, when you have like the more conventional flavored wing, which must be whatever Hooters does or did, they closed here. I never was a fan of that thing anyway, but it's crazy to see that
Mhm.
closed. But, and then that must be like growing up, I tasted them here and there, and I never had one that had more like the cayenne vinegar flavor profile.
Mhm.
And so when you explained that to me, and I realized, I think maybe I went to another restaurant and I had wings, and I was like, I don't like the wings wherever I went. And then I came back to Wings and More, and I liked them, and I was like, I really do like this stuff. I just don't like the one type of sauce versus another. So
Yeah, you try to differentiate yourself between these other brands because they're major brands, right? You are looking
sure,
at Hooters and Buffalo Wild Wings and Wingstop currently, they're all over the map.
yeah,
Um, and we have a different wing. Our wing it's a yellow wing. It's the wings that you buy at the store. They're a white wings. Our come out of Atlanta, Georgia. It's Mark's been working with this guy for 30 years,
wow,
and it's a roasting bird. Yeah, there's a lot of food science. It's really interesting. I mean, I'm probably boring everybody, but the food science behind it is you would walk in the door, it's like, oh, it's just a wing joint. It's like, no, there's some thought behind some of these entrees. Um, but the reason we use that particular product, it is more expensive, but it does give you that crispy on the outside and moist on the inside.
yeah,
On and the, the wings go through four different stages of being fried. They're just not dropped one time and then pulled out. It's the way we do apply our sauce. It's not as simple as just you just throw some sauce on it. Since sometimes it has a little bit of butter, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes we have garlic sauces that we take the garlic granules and we mix in the wings, all kinds of things. So
I
it's
like
it's
that.
really interesting.
No, that is interesting. I mean, cooking is a big time science. A few years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, into 2016, I guess, Jared and I, he was buying some. We were doing a 1031 tax exchange for him, and we were looking at some real estate, and we went up to Dallas to look at this 85,000 square foot office building that he wound up buying. But it was hilarious because Jared and I we're up here talking to these guys, big boy real estate deal, and
Mm.
we were touring the place, and they had this food science laboratory, big 10,000 square foot tenant in this office building, and they had commercial kitchen after commercial kitchen after commercial kitchen, and they develop flavors and other things like that for restaurants, and like they had these racks of all these chemical type containers, and like they
Hmm.
had said that when Chili's does the Jack Daniels flavored stuff, they're like they don't have like an open bottle of Jack just sitting on the shelf that the chef takes and pours into the thing. It's like there's a flavor profile that we develop here, and they make it last, and
Yeah.
and things like that. And it was really, that was the first time I had realized that there were like major scientists who were perfecting all this stuff that companies like yours were working with to get to get to where it tastes good in the restaurant, it tastes good out of the restaurant. Um, it's funny,
Yeah.
Jared and I were more interested in the things we were seeing on that trip than like listening to the guys talk to us. We
That's a
went in,
new little world, isn't it?
it
It's a new
was, and
world.
we went in this other space where they had this sky chair. You know what a sky chair is? Did you go to the Renaissance Festival growing up and they saw those cloth sky chairs that you know what I'm
No,
talking about? Well,
maybe if you describe it, what is it? Just
it's like a
like a
hammock, like a
swing?
personal, like a one-person hammock,
Okay,
kind of. And they always
sure.
sold them at the Renaissance Festival. And we got one and we tried to install it in our dorm room in college. And I'll have to find a picture. But long story short, the suspended ceiling wound up crashing down. And but we were touring these guys' space, and Jared looked at me and he's like, "Hey, they have a sky chair." And I looked up, and like the whole time we're just looking at how they have this thing anchored to the ceiling and realizing like how they did it versus how we did it. And I'll never forget like the sightseeing trip that we went on, and these guys that were giving us the tour were like, "Who are these jokers?" You wound up buying the office
That's too
building, but
good.
I mean, we were more interested in the tenants and what they had going on than listening to about the differences, the details on the building and the financials and all that. But
Hey, it's interesting, and I get to see that as well. Just like you said, we'll talk to uh, major producers, and for instance, our ranch is homemade. Our ranch
the
and our
ranch
blue
is
cheese are
amazing.
homemade.
Will you please sell
It's
that?
well, okay. Here's the challenge there. Well, first we had to get it out of the building, right? So we wanted to protect our recipes. Okay, and then now you got to start looking for somebody who can develop those for you. And we met with a guy named Leo. You'll see his dressing, his Leo dressing. You'll probably see him next time you go to the store.
Okay.
Um, and it probably took us about 2 or 3 months, and we would go to his facility. And same thing you're talking about. We would test them in small batches, and like, no, man, this tastes okay. This tastes close. It's not good. We would put This is how great our guests are. We would put samples of batches out with people not knowing, and immediately we'd get phone calls or emails saying, "Hey, man, something's not right. This
Yeah.
isn't right." And we're like, what? Yeah,
Yeah.
well, let's get you some more. But they would. It's amazing how their palate just knows when something's
Mm-hmm.
a tad bit off. So we tweaked it. I mean, it took us months and to get it to where it would sustain, and we can bring in these 5 gallon buckets. But we did all that just so we can protect it. We didn't want people to have the recipe.
Sure.
If
Makes
we were to
sense.
franchise and start opening these new restaurants, it just needs to hit the back door already made.
Yeah. That
And
makes
so with
sense.
that being said, yeah, we would love to be on the shelf, but then you got to start working on the stability. Okay, is it going to be in the middle of the aisle? Is it going to be warm? Does it need to hold cold? So
Got
there's
it.
different components to that aspect of it.
Got it. Well,
But
I'm sure
yeah,
there is a ton to go. If y'all could sell your just like Whataburger got their, ketchup and stuff like that in the stores. They have their I know they have their spicy and their regular ketchup. They can buy their mustard. I don't know what else I don't know what else you can buy from Whataburger in the stores, but y'all have got
yeah, that's
it's a
right.
good product. Like I mean, people outside of your Wings and More following, if they experienced your ranch or your buffalo sauce, they'd be like, "Man, this is good stuff." Like, they would just want it at home.
That might come down the pipeline. There'd be a nice retail space of a different revenue stream when you start putting that out on shelves, or even selling it within the store where it's enclosed and it'll hold in your refrigerator, for
Yeah,
a couple weeks. That's kind of one of the goals
that would be
that we
nice.
have as a company.
That'd be
Yeah.
nice. So back at the store, what drives y'all's sales? I mean, what's your busiest day or event or anything that you guys have over there inside of your stores?
There's probably the springtime in general drives the restaurants. There's just so many people that are out and about. Our College Station stores, that town is just centrally located to where people are coming in from Dallas and Austin and Houston and San Antonio, and they're playing in tournaments, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
soccer or softball. Um, so the springtime, a lot of people think it's football season, right? They associate the wings with
Sure.
with football, but the springs is kind of what brings people out. And then of course, traditionally it's going to be your Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Those are your busier days, your Sunday
Mm-hmm.
late after lunch. And then kind of Monday and Tuesday, you kind of get back into the swing of things, and people get back to office and they'll come in for lunch and try to pick up something for dinner to take home.
Yeah, no, that
Um,
I mean, I could see y'all just having typical, seasonal or a week. I don't know the seasons of a week. The busy times of a week versus the not busy times of a
sure,
week. But I know y'all do crawfish, and y'all are of course open on
we
major
do.
4th of July, Memorial Day, Labor Day. I mean, y'all are there, so I guess it just depends on if it's a nice day and everybody's out and about and off work, then they're gonna come hit you up, huh?
Weather's a big factor, but it's sometimes hard to, it's that even in itself is hard to predict, right? You can sit here and go, oh man, it's raining outside, not too many people are going to come out. And next thing you know, you're inundated with
Yeah,
customers. Like, wow, where did everybody just come from? Like, they don't want to go out and buy
I've lost you, Richard. I hope you're coming back, man.
times.
There you
You
go. So
there? Yeah,
yeah.
sorry.
We lost you for about 10 seconds. You're okay though. You're okay.
Yeah,
So
ultimately it's hard to put a finger on it. You just kind of prepare for the worst and hope
yeah,
for the best. You
sure,
staff. We have a lot of data. We can
sure.
tell you within a few $1,000s on a certain day, within a certain month, where we're going to be within that day, and so that
That's cool.
allows us to make our schedules according, order properly, right? You don't want to have too much product in your refrigerators,
Yeah,
uh, So we use some of that data to kind of help guide us through some of these things.
that makes sense. That makes sense. That's cool though. I mean, I like data. I like analyzing that stuff. I like looking at it, and I would definitely be
It's
doing the
real,
same
right?
thing. It is
It's
real.
tangible.
Yeah, yeah, you can kind of
It's
confirm your suspicions a little bit when you grab a hold of some data, and or you can use it to I mean, you can use it for anything, but whether it's confirming suspicions, making predictions, figuring out where you've been, where you're going, how you're doing,
hmm
um,
Well, I
it's
mean,
a
you and I, right? You and I both have a feeling, right? This
mm-hmm,
feels a certain way. This feels like it's going this way. Man, I
mm-hmm,
feel like this is what's going on. And then you refer to the data, you refer to the resource,
right,
and yeah, like you said, you either confirm it or you don't. It's like, oh well, maybe that's not what's going on.
sure, it's all in your head, maybe.
This is the trend. That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you
exactly.
kind of it's good to have intuition, but you want to back it up with a little bit of data,
Sure.
just to confirm.
Sure. No, absolutely. Absolutely. So, all right. So, shifting gears off of just Wings and More,
Yeah.
one of the things you and I've talked about at Wings and More a fair amount is you guys over the years have bought a couple of rental houses.
Yeah, we have. It's been interesting.
Yeah.
We've had some great people that we've had in our properties, and um, currently you wonder how you're just concerned on how they're adapting to this situation.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and on our side, we try to weather the storm as well, right? I mean, you're your own personal business, so now we're trying to weather our own storm. What happens if? Um,
Right.
and it's there's a little bit of concern there because you can't you have to sympathize with what's going on, but the reality is that sometimes these bills are still due. Even if you were to push them or adjust them.
Right. And I've seen, we have a lot of tenants that we interact with. I mean, I've got like 1,500 tenants that in our various properties that pay us rent on a monthly basis.
Hmm.
Um, and it's been there, clearly there's a ton of anxiety out there.
Right.
I think a lot of people rightfully were holding on to their money because they were trying to brace for the worst, and it might be that then they hear that there's a moratorium on evictions or something or foreclosures, and they
Hmm.
think, okay, well, that's not currently a problem that I need to deal with right now. I'm more worried about paying for groceries, and maybe I'm going to be okay in April, but I need to hold on to as much money as I can because in May, what happens if, I mean, gosh, I just saw oil dropped below $20. I mean,
Oh
good
man.
grief. Like, who predicted that? So I can kind of see that, but at the same time, I think that some people are also seeing that their employers are reaching out to, or are communicating to them, hey guys, we're going to reopen on this day, or hey, we got our
Hmm.
payroll protection program loan, or hey, you're safe. Like, I just want to be sure that you're safe. Like, we want you to keep working for us. And what I've seen is in the beginning, there were some people who told us they wouldn't be able to pay, and I think it's more like they were concerned that something was going to happen that was going to cause them to not be able to pay.
Right.
But by this point in the month, by far the majority of our residential tenants have paid, and I'm thankful to see that.
Yeah, same here. You go into that month and you're like, okay, well, we'll just see what happens. And yeah, I've been blessed. They were able to be part, to pay their part.
Yeah,
And but yeah, as a landlord, you have to be kind of prepared for it, right? That's part of the business.
right.
You don't know when somebody outside of this, if they're not going to show up, or they're just going to say, you know what, I'm done paying. And I'm sure that's just a whole nother world that I hope not to get into. I'm sure maybe one day, just law of averages, I might be there. But um, I think when you go into that type of business, there's definitely plenty of risk, that comes
Sure, there
along with that
is.
reward.
There
But
is.
now you yourself, we don't use a management company. I'm the management company. I'm able to go and assess these buildings if they have issues, and fix things. I'm pretty handy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but now it might get to a point where you discuss your services sometimes, and your management company. What what How do you participate? Like, how would you help someone like myself to say, hey, look, I mean, you're trying to, how can you relieve me of some worry? What do you take off my
So
plate?
we have, we do, under the brand of Brightline Property Management, we manage houses. That's the business of that. My other business is Cole Realty and Management, and we manage mobile home parks, RV parks, shopping centers, and things like that. But Brightline Property Management manages houses. And what we do is we do pretty much everything. We are going to market the property, prepare the lease, screen the tenant, get them in the door for you. We're going to be proactive about sending rental statements. If they haven't paid, we reach out to them. We let them know, hey, you need to pay. We have many ways that they can pay. And then as far as day-to-day operation of the business, we've got our phones are manned 24/7 with people who are
Oh,
bilingual.
great.
So whether it's during regular business hours and it's a normal full-time employee who's answering the phone, or it's after hours, anybody who does answer the phone has access to our rental software. And so they know who's calling. They can look up who that tenant is, and then they can create a service ticket. We have people that are on call within our company.
Hmm.
So if someone calls with a water leak at 2 a.m., we do have the ability to dispatch to get someone out there to assist with that. So that kind of takes a load off for
Is
you.
that, yeah, is that in-house, or
So it's a
do you have a
combination.
relationship, a little bit of
Well,
both?
so I mean, the full-time employees that answer the phone during the day versus the answering service that's specific to the property management industry after
Yeah.
hours, and then we have our own in-house persons who are designated to be on call. And then, depending on the nature of the emergency, we would either call a person who works for us to go to the property to fix something, or we would have just a third party. I mean, if it was I guess I wouldn't really know every single example, but a water leak is the
Right.
kind of thing that, I mean, I've gotten out of bed for a water leak before, because
Right.
we got to stop that.
Yeah, that's
I mean, if
important for
if a house
everybody.
is for everybody, yeah, a house being on fire, an air conditioner not working, I mean, neither of those things I can fix for you at 2 a.m. You need to call the fire
Hmm.
department, or we're going to call an AC company at 8 a.m.
Right.
So there's some things that don't warrant actually rolling somebody out to the house right away. But the good news is that people at least can tell us what's going on, and then we can decide if it's important.
Do
So
you, is this a monthly fee
yeah, so
for
we
per
charge.
home, or is it like 1 to 10 homes? It's X, and
That would
10,
be an interesting
11,
package, but no, we don't. We charge 119 a month, 119 a month per house while it's
Okay.
occupied. And we find that's a competitive rate out there, because a lot of people charge a percentage. And I started looking at how much houses were renting for and how much our fee
Hmm.
was when we were doing percentage based. And I started to pay attention to when people would kind of give pushback on whether they thought that what we were proposing to them was a good price. This was a couple of years ago, before we developed the flat rate
Right.
model. And in the Woodlands, it's easy to have a house that could be well over $3,000. We manage houses for
Oh yeah.
people that are over $5,000. I legitimately do not believe that a person should have to pay 2 to 3 times as much for me to manage their $5,000 house as their $1,500 or $2,000 or $2,500 a month house.
That's
And
great.
so I just kind of said, okay, how much am I willing to do this for? Or what does a typical house look like? What is the percentage of a typical house look like? Is it, 8% of $1,500? A lot of people charge 10%. And I just said, we're willing to do this for 119. And since we proposed that, we've had a lot of adoption. A lot of people have said, hey, that sounds good. I'd love to hire you. And the other things that we have are good relationships with service people. We can get preferential scheduling from them. We get good pricing. We pay a lot of we hire a lot of services out, so people want to work with us. And also we do not get 3 bids. I don't call the plumber and say, hey, 3 plumbers, give me a bid to fix that toilet. But I know what it should cost to have a plumber fix a toilet. And
Right.
so if someone tries to give us a bill that sounds outrageous, we'll be like, no, you've lost your mind. Like, we're not paying that much for whatever you just did.
Oh
Um,
man, real quick, let me tell you. I just a couple days ago, right? So my tenant had a clogged drain. So
uh-huh.
I'll go over there, no big deal. You put the wire down the drain and do as best as you can. Well, it's just not long enough, right? The
Yeah.
residential is not long enough. Well, during that time, he plunged the sink. Well, when he plunged it, obviously the drain cap kind of got loose, and now you had standing water that was leaking into the bottom of the drawers. That makes sense, right? The putty
Yep.
had
Yep.
had,
Yeah, I
had been
understand. Yeah.
drilled. And so I ended up calling the company. I'm like, hey, can you come out and do this? And it was Saturday, so I was grateful. They got there and like, hey, to handle the drain, that's $80. I said, oh, hey, no problem, do it. Go, hey, while you're there, can you just go ahead and reset that drain cap? Yeah, that's going to be about $270. And I go, do what? He's like,
What?
yeah, that's about what it's going to cost. Oh man, I said, okay, just forget it. I don't need it. Thank you, but no thank you. I fixed that little problem for $20. That's
I mean,
how
you
much
get some
that cost.
plumber's putty, you
That's it.
disassemble the drain unit, you
That's
put
it.
the bed of
One,
it in there, you put it down, tighten it up, you're done.
yeah, yeah.
See, and
And
so
if I were that's what was unfortunate about that moment. And I was just like you say, the process and what it's going to take to fix that. And I'm not. I mean, they're knowledgeable people out there craft. I'm not taking that part away from them, but you and I both know that within that case, that was just excessive. I'm like, I don't know I don't know what I've been paying for.
right.
And it was just unfortunate, but I mean, we got them up and running. But you're right. I mean, it's good that you have that knowledge. Like, that's a little bit much, but you'll
And
also develop that relationship. You don't have to have that conversation.
we're probably not going to have a plumber who's going to try to do that to us that we would
That's
be
right.
using. And there are a lot of people who aren't knowledgeable about what things should and shouldn't cost.
That's right.
And I mean, there's just various things that, because we have so much. I've given this analogy before in some professional designations and things, like some of the things that I have. One of the criteria is how many unit years of experience do you have? And so they'll say, you need to have 100 or 200 or 500 unit years of experience to get a certain designation. And that means how many units did you manage for X number of years? So if it was 500, that could be 250 units for 2 years.
Okay.
Well, imagine this: if you have 2 rental houses and you've had them for 10 years, you have 20 unit years of experience. If I have 1,500 units that I have been managing for a few years, I mean, heck, in 1 year, I've already got,
You
um,
exceeded. Yeah.
yeah, 60 times, 70 times what you've got in 1 year of
Hmm.
and what I'm getting at here is our frequency of interaction, our instances of issues, the number of times we've dealt with things. I mean, when I first got into this business, I started with 1 rental house, and it was
Right.
hard. And if I needed to send a letter to somebody, I had to write the letter. I didn't just right click and generate a form letter and ask somebody to mail it and put it in the machine in this other room over here that folds it and puts it into an envelope and seals the envelope and it comes out the other side. Like, that did not exist back in 2008 for me.
Right. Right.
So and when I had to call a plumber, I'd have to call them, and then they'd be like, well, who are you? How do I know I'm going to get paid? Blah, 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 and now it just things happen. So, we're able to operate very efficiently because of the frequency with which we do things. And I think that
Right.
that's a major thing that a person that owns 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 houses really benefits from, is just knowing that that's getting done. And another thing is, it's kind of nice to have a buffer. Like you have a lease, it will state in there there's a late fee and some other things like that, but you have a personal relationship with that tenant, and it's probably
Hmm.
difficult for you to enforce those late fees, if I had to guess.
Oh, no question. I mean, I see I see an extra cat show up. I see
There you go. Yeah.
another little dog. Who's this person staying there a little bit longer than I think? For sure. And I do have that relationship with my tenants. And I enjoy that.
Yeah.
Those pleasantries and making it a little bit more personal. But you're right. There's some things that are in that contract that I do sit back and I'm like, man, my wife, she's like, you gonna bring that up, or you
Right.
gonna address
Well, and
that?
it's
I'm like, all right, hey, I'll get it.
rental increases. Your property tax, your property
Yeah.
insurance, it goes up every year. But you think, oh, Jill and Jack are over there being good tenants. They've been with me for 3 or 4 years.
Hmm.
But you're making less money every year that goes by if you're not raising their rent. And you're being friendly, but you're allowing them to walk on you if you're not enforcing the lease and charging them late fees.
Hey,
So
you don't have to yell at me, okay? Look, I'm learning. I'm learning a little bit. Don't yell at me and scold
yeah.
me, on the
Well, I
air.
apologize. But no, I mean
Hey, but
and
you're
that's
you're 100% right, and you know what? Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm a novice, and you're right. I want to be polite, and you're right. You're
yeah.
100% right. That's why I go to you for these type of things. I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
I need you as part of
Well,
my
we'll have
friends
to have
list.
more intentional meetings up at the Montgomery location, because I unfortunately won't just be popping in the Woodlands one. It sounds like it's still blowing my
Man,
mind.
I know.
Um,
It's still here. It's still the bones are
yeah,
still strong. It's still
yeah, I
here.
know they are. I know they are. But no, we have a lot of we have a lot of things that we offer to people that just allow them to have peace of mind, be hands off, and just know that things are getting taken care of. And we deal with weird situations, but we know how to deal with them. And most landlords just wouldn't have had instances occur at some point in their journey, even if they've been doing it for 5 or 10 years, because they wouldn't have had enough people that they would have dealt with, that they would know how to do it from experience.
I don't know. It makes sense. It definitely makes sense of what you're talking about. And
Yeah,
no, I look forward to, working with you within that aspect. Just
I'd love that. I'd love that. Yeah, for sure.
you know, I mean, you have a lot of answers to a lot of good questions. So,
Well,
especially
thanks.
when it comes to that type of that business,
Yeah, no, I
no
can tell you the
question.
nuts and bolts of it. Amy, who does our business development, can tell you everything that we do and give you the fancy folder and all the flyers and everything. But
Yeah,
I basically, I mean, I know what we do. I know how the business runs.
yeah.
And that's just basically that's basically how it is. And we provide the hands off experience is how it operates.
Now, do you get one? What's the one phone call you get most often? What's the most?
When things are out of
Uh,
the ordinary, a tenant is being particularly difficult. They're not responding to our standard letters and notices. Maybe an owner is what I would say, the majority of my phone calls are more about owners who are not doing what we believe to be correct.
is that
Um,
right?
yeah, like we've had situations where someone's rented a house out before that had two air conditioners, and one of the air conditioners was broken, and they would say, well, I'm not going to replace that one. It's not really necessary because we upgraded the other air conditioner years ago. Let's just put a window unit in there. And we're like, well, hold on a second. That's not the person that viewed the house had two central air conditioners. It doesn't matter if one of them can now cool more than it used to. You're not, there's just weird situations that sometimes have happened that have to do with property condition and unwillingness to repair, that just like we would hold a tenant accountable if they damaged a property and didn't return it to us in the same condition with reasonable wear and tear accepted that we gave it to
Hmm.
them. a landlord needs to allow the major systems of that house to continue to operate in the same manner that the home was delivered to the tenant.
Well, in that
And
case, you're helping out the tenant. You're like, hey, look, I'm on your side.
so, we
Within
definitely
reason.
we work for the owner,
Sure.
but
But
in
you have to
some
be honest to the owner, right? You have
you
to be
do.
honest with them and go, hey, look, I know this is how you would like to address this, but
Well, think
this is the
about
right
this
thing to do.
also. If the tenant never understands or hears about the conversations that we're having with the owner, because the
Hmm.
tenant is not discussing this with the owner and getting resistance from the owner, we're simply receiving the message from the tenant. We're telling the owner, we're getting pushback from the owner. At some point, we make it happen and we tell the owner, hey, congratulations, this is happening. We're promoting a good relationship with this tenant. This tenant doesn't know that we had to fight the owner to get this done. All this tenant
Right.
sees is that they have a well-maintained house and they have a responsive property management company. So even though we're fighting you, Mr. Owner, we're getting a good relationship with this tenant and we're staving off a month or two of vacancy and a releasing fee in 8 months when the lease is up. So that
Right.
the $3 or $4 or $5,000 that was going to cost you, we just mitigated that by you doing a $1,500 repair.
It makes
So
sense.
there's a certain amount of that goes on. My dad tells this story, in real estate. I mean, the importance of a broker is, if you've got a piece of property available for sale for who knows how much, $300,000, and someone brings an offer for 150, and the broker takes it to the seller and the seller goes, oh, that no good, blah, blah, blah. You tell that buyer to take that offer and shove it where the sun don't shine and such and so. And as a real estate broker, you go back to the guy that made the offer and you say, the seller was very excited to have your offer. However, it's just not quite enough. If you could consider raising your offer to something, more realistic, we would love to
Yeah.
come to the table and negotiate with you. And it's just the same thing in management. You're that intermediary. And that is a big thing that we do is we try to foster good relationships with our tenants and make them feel like they're taken care of.
That's good, man. That's important.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, thanks. So, well, Richard, I really appreciate you joining me today. Do you have any final wings and more thoughts or anything you wanna leave us with before we cut out of
Man,
here?
no, my family and I were the Wings and More family, and then my family in general. I mean, we're just grateful. We're grateful for the people that do come by and you know, they dine with us and have a pleasant experience with us. I mean, we work hard, just try to take care of everybody, and it's tough times out there for everybody, and just hope everybody's healthy and safe. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, yeah, you too.
I have several friends out there that I know they're going through their own path in life right now, and hopefully we'll all get to cross again. And but
Sure.
no, man, I'm grateful. I'm happy. Everybody's good.
Good.
Uh, and I think moving forward, we'll just see what time tells us, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I wish you all the best. My heart goes
Yeah, I
out to
appreciate
you
it.
and your employees of that location there and everyone who's affected by that, and I hope that everyone pivots and is able to recover from that quickly.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. It's
You
great
bet.
talking to you.
You bet. You too, man. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, we'll talk to you
Okay.
soon.
All right, man. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
All right. Well, there you have it. That was Richard Gonzalez with Wings and More. He's become a friend of mine over the years, and I really enjoyed talking to him about all the various things that we would usually talk about over there at the Wings and More location. So thank you for joining me today. I will be back on Monday, and I'll share some more interesting things with y'all. I hope y'all are enjoying the show. If you have anything you'd love for me to talk about, if you want me to bring up a specific topic, like Richard did of our property management business, if you want to know more about what we're doing in the wake of COVID-19 and how we're handling tenants, drop me a line. I'd be happy to maybe even interview you on the show about your question. And if you want to be on the show, reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you about real estate or the Woodlands or business in general. So everyone, be safe. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you Monday. You're listening to the Brightline Podcast, where we talk about investment real estate, business, and many other interesting topics. Brought to you by Brightline Property Management. Brightline Property Management is a professional residential property management company located in the Woodlands, Texas, serving the northern Houston area. Additionally brought to you by Rentalizer, the MLS-driven investment home analyzer. Sign up today at brightlinepodcast.com/rentalizer. That's RENTLYZER. The Brightline Podcast is produced at Studio 110 in the Woodlands, Texas, the premier studio in the Woodlands. Check out the show's website at brightlinepodcast.com, where you can subscribe, contact, and sign up for our newsletter. That's brightlinepodcast.com. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoy our show.